Right, everybody, and welcome to a new season of the 9 Years podcast. I think it's episode 368, not sure, Stu. All that matters is it is episode 1 of season 2025-2026. And yes, we are back in League One. Thank you very much for downloading the show this week. I am Nick Draper. I am joined, as always, by the face of the BBC Sport website, the aforementioned Mr. Stuart Deacons. And we're looking ahead to the start of the football season. I would say football is back, Stu. Football never went away. And we're only less than a week removed from the Lionesses winning the European Championships in Switzerland. Didn't really have to get out of neutral for that one. But well done to the ladies. Can I just say, Stu, on that point, before we get into AFC Wimbledon and new signings and departures and Luton and kits and everything else that goes with the start of the new season, thing that struck me most of all about the England's winning the Euros for the second time in a row was the celebrations, and it was very much centred on the kids. 60-odd thousand turned out in London to welcome them back and celebrate, but the majority of them were children. And I thought that was quite a difference to what will happen should the men ever win anything. I dread to think what that will be like if they do. I think it was great to see the inspiration that was given to the young children, because that's really probably what it should be about at the end of the day.
Yeah, the women's game is just a totally different audience. It's made for families, for young girls, for young boys. Families can, parents can take their kids without the fear of really any violence. There's not loads of violence at football nowadays anyway, compared to what it was like in the 80s and 90s. But it's more accessible to families. I think they can relate more to these women, and I really enjoyed it. I always say to people, never, if you want to compare it to the men's game, then of course it's going to be an inferior product, because the men's game, they're stronger, faster. Of course they are. But if you watch it for what it is, it's a technical game of football. They're playing against people of equal ability. The top end of the women's game is really competitive. The problem the women's game has is that it doesn't have. If you look at the WSL, the strength of the top teams compared to the bottom teams is massive. A lot bigger than what we would in the Premier League. But I really enjoyed it. And I have to say, I loved the penalty shootout that went on for years. It made me chuckle, and it made me laugh. And people saying they're bad penalties. I have to remember that the goalkeepers are smaller, the goals are big. We can compare them to the size of the goalkeepers, and none of them, and they have less power. So when you take that in consideration, like no one done a stutter or try to send the goalkeeper the wrong way. It just felt like an amateur football game that was really competitive. But you naturally get the people that mock it and say, "Oh, I don't know how you watch it now." I think there's a market for it. I think it's getting stronger, and I'm with you actually. I watched the London, they had the open top bus, and I found they were very inspirational for young girls and boys, and it felt like it brought a little bit of the innocence of football around it. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
And that's where the women's game, for me, has to present itself as being different to the men's game. It shouldn't be trying to copy it. And sometimes I worry that it starts to want to just be like the men's game. It should never aim to be that. It wants to keep its unique feel and its unique atmosphere. But hey, that's another conversation for another day. Talking about unique feels and unique atmospheres, ever known a promoted club to start a season on such a weird sort of atmosphere within the fan base? Because that's what it feels like at AFC Wimbledon at the moment. Obviously, we're going to, as the podcast goes on, we will look ahead to the game specifically against Luton on Friday night, the first game of the season, but we'll preview the season as a whole. We've got a new game as well, Stu, of course. It's a 9-year podcast, still 106.58% unofficial, woke, broke, whatever you want to call us. We are still going to persist with our
I've always
game.
been broke.
Yeah, we've got no money. But actually saying that, Stu, that's a good place to start, because despite the negativity around the club, the Dons have got no money, but we've paid 2 transfer fees.
Yeah, we don't know what they are because they're always undisclosed. I doubt very much if they're much. It might even be like a pack of Jaffa cakes and maybe a pack of bananas. Maybe, you never know. But yeah, we've paid
a pack of bananas.
A bunch of bananas. I don't know. I think they're probably minimal fees. I don't think they're going to be the massive. But yes, we have. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You can't get away from the fact that we got promoted and there was a real good feel factor, and then the players went on holiday naturally, and then it felt like we just went into we need money mode very, very quickly. And my personal feeling is it's been too quick. We put a really good interview from Craig Cope, if you remember back to the, crikey, what was it, mid-June? It feels time-wise, it feels all over the place, doesn't it? Did a really good interview, I thought Craig did. But the message within that was that we don't have we have a really tough challenge ahead to compete, not even compete, but just to put a team together that has a chance of doing anything in League One. And it just felt that from that interview that he did, the tone was set. Then we obviously had the donations, we had the patron, we had the We Are Wimbledon Fund, which all seemed to come out together. We also then had the Wimbledon and Sporting Histories, Wish with the Amateur Cup. I obviously know from being part of Wish that was always planned. That's been going on for a little while, but of course, naturally, we as a charity doesn't always link in communication wise of what else was coming out. So everything on top of each other. And then today, as we record, we've had the vice president. So for a small token of 100 grand, you can be a 10-year vice president. And look, there's no doubt we need money. My only criticism is it just feels that all of a sudden we got promoted at Wembley, and then someone told our finance person, by the way, we are not in a very good condition to compete. Let's now try and get as much money. Where I think we probably have known for a little while that we struggle financially, which is a different story with the 50.1% vote. I'm sure will come up very soon.
I think we knew in January, didn't we? We had a budget for League One. We had a budget for League Two. The League One budget would have seen us 24th out of 24. Budget for League Two would not see us in the promotion picture in terms of the budget table. We know that the constraints that we're working under, so we shouldn't be surprised by it whatsoever. It's just we don't know the exact nature of it, do we? As a fan base as a whole. I mean, there are people obviously within the PLC board and the Don's Trust board that will know the exact numbers and what have you. We don't really understand the exact nature of. We don't know what our wage budget is. We don't know how much we're spending on wages and bonus schemes and all this business. There was talk that financially we'd have been better off had we lost at Wembley, but we can't. You can't have that mentality. You have to go win and get promoted, and we're going to get a little bit of a rub from that because we're going to have an away end that is sold out more often this season than it would be if we were in League Two, so that will give us a bit of a boost. But it's going to be hard going, isn't it? This season, it's going to be a hard watch at times.
Yeah, and Craig Cope at the Meet the Manager event this week was asked quite a few questions about financially, and someone did ask him about how do we compare. I think they tried to get an idea of I think they first asked how much our wage budget was, which Craig was never going to answer, and then sort of a percentage size. But he basically went that we were 14th in the league table for League Two, and he goes based on, of course, the league table in terms of financial or wages is always a little bit of guesswork because you can never be too sure what everyone's doing. But from their initial investigation, they think the highest we could potentially be would be 22nd in a league on the wage budget.
Wage tunnel.
Wage tunnel.
We have a new thing. We have a new thing on the first episode of the new season. The wage tunnel.
And the Meet Manager event was a really good event, actually. I thought it was really well handled. Darren Paul hosted it, which he has for the last couple of years. But you're right, it could have gone a bit sour because it feels weird to be we were celebrating. We had the playoff trophy in the room that you could have pictures with, but there was a feel a little bit that we hadn't got players in. Of course, that was the night before we got 3 players in. It just felt a little bit flat. And it's a really weird one. I think it has to be said it's probably from the messaging that's come out from the football club. Comms has been very much, we need money. And we haven't been as active in the transfer market, recruiting wise, as we normally are with Craig Cope. And I think there's reasons for that. He was very honest and said, they had targets that they were prepared to wait for. They could have said no. We go. They had their number one, number two targets. They could have said no. We won't wait, and we'll go and get another player, but they didn't want to do that. And I think it probably shows with the three players that come in on the Wednesday of the quality that I think we have. We've got one player that was at Walsall last year who I was really impressed with, player from Port Vale, and then we've got Dan Orsi from Burton Albion. So if you look at it, we've effectively recruited from teams that were at the top end of League Two and at the bottom end of League One. So that's where we're looking at. That's our market. That's what we need to do.
I think the messaging in terms of finances, just for me, I'm all here for it when people say, look, this is a situation, let's not try and dress it up and pretend otherwise. I want it to be as open and as honest as possible. I think what we could have done with the messaging about the finances is we're in a tricky position. We need to raise more money somehow. We are going to be asking and seeing what we can get from you guys to help us out. But ignoring all that, we're still Wimbledon. So it doesn't matter to us. This is to help us move on to the next level. But for now, you know what we're going to get from us. Finances don't matter. We were, as you say, 14th in the budget last season. We got promoted in the wage tunnel. Sorry, we were 14th. And it doesn't matter. We are Wimbledon. We fight. We overachieve. We do better than where we should be doing. And I think if we'd have had a little bit more of that tied in with it, then I think people might have been perhaps a little bit more on board with it. I think some people are being a little bit down. I think sometimes I think people do it on purpose, to be honest with you. I think they kind of just go on this whole miserable, everything is terrible. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And it's like, well, sometimes I think you exacerbate it yourself and create these issues where there isn't some. I think we just have to be realistic and say, we knew getting promoted, we're going to be in a challenge. We're going to be in a struggle. We're going to be at the bottom end of League One this season. Let's just work our backsides off as a group of players, as a football staff and as fans, and do all we can. Instead, it feels like we're just waiting for any reason to sort of get on the backs of people. And life is too short, people.
Hello, do you know what? We were all excited about getting promoted when let's get into League One. We had to be realistic and knew that League One had some really big teams in it. And obviously with the teams that got relegated in terms of Huddersfield and Cardiff became even bigger. So it's no surprise. We wanted to be promoted and we're in a big league. A league with ex-Premier League clubs and people have got a bit of money. But we knew that when we got promoted. I think we all got a bit... I think, do you know what? When there's no football, social media needs something to fill it because it can't, so it just feels that we're not signing players. But then if you looked around the league, not many other teams were signing players either.
No.
And Craig Cove and John Jackson have been honest and said the market's been a little bit dead for some reason. We start beginning of August and Championship start the week after and the Premier League start the week after. So I get it. It cascades from the top. Once the top start doing their business, then everyone else does their business, and we're probably at the bottom of the chain. Not as far bottom as we were last season, judging by the players that we picked up already. But the window doesn't shut until the end of August. And I think we just have to have some faith in Craig Cove. I think he's earned that. I think he's earned the trust. And we just need to stop panicking. But we need a football to start, which it thankfully does on Friday night. But what I just quickly going back on the finance side of it, I think we had just over £3 million to pay back. So let's say just over. I think it's about 3.5 in bonds money, and it was always one of the biggest chunks of money we're going to have to pay back in 2027. We didn't just find that out. We've known that. We've known that for a little while. So I don't understand why we couldn't have done the messaging from January and funneled it a little bit over a period of time. But that's for the Dons Trust the Dons Trust board to deal with. I just think there's some lessons that we can learn. But all I've really heard recently is we own the club, we're owners, we've got to provide the money. It feels like a little bit of a different message. I've not heard that messaging before. This any time I think it's only over recent, probably this year, that I've sort of heard as owners we've got to be good owners and we've got a fund. But let's not be stupid. There's teams that are £5 million budgets and teams that are losing money every month covered by owners. We are not that rich. So I get the messaging, but we are probably getting to a stage now where discussions have to be had about the sustainability of us. And look, where do we want to be? Where do we want to be? Do we want to be a League One club? Do we want to be a League Two club? what do you want to do? But we've got some decisions to make, and I'm sure we will have some to make at some point. But hey, look, the football starts. Let's go to Luton. Let's go to Kenilworth Road. You know what makes you laugh? Obviously, I know your connections with Luton and that shit. I'm sorry, that place in where it is.
That place in where it is.
But do you know what makes me laugh? Right, we've been in the same league as them before. It's not new.
Yeah.
We've actually been in a league above them before.
Yep.
And it's like all of a sudden we're making going to Kenilworth Road is effectively the same as going to Goodison Park. It's not. It's just some place in Luton. It just makes all of a sudden Luton fans must be thinking we've never really been felt as this bigger cheese division before. Yeah. It may not play. It may, and this is nothing against Luton. I don't mind Luton as a club. I think they've done. I think their model's great. I think what they've done is amazing. And what really impressed me about Luton was how they got promoted and they understood the level. They went, do you know what? This money can make us sustainable for years and years, rather than going, do you know what, we're going to try and compete because you can't. So as a club, they've got really good principles, but they're probably thinking, why are we big cheese? Because we're just Luton. But it's interesting. And we're on Sky, aren't we? Well, to be fair, when are we not on Sky? Everyone's on Sky now.
Yeah, sadly, for the first couple of weeks, everyone is on Sky. It's a bit mad. And Luton, yeah, well, I'll tell you, Stu, we will come on to Luton. We'll do our predictions and stuff and look into it more in depth towards the end of the show. I think we have, once the team gets into the Premier League, all of a sudden people's perspective changes a little bit, but it's still same old Luton Town. They've been bouncing around the lower leagues for the majority of their existence. But anyway, money-wise, yeah, okay. So, yes, understood everything there. There's so much to talk about in those terms. I'm sure it will be an ongoing theme throughout the season. You did mention, though, the signings that we did manage to get in then. So let's look at this positively. After all the long wait for some players, we did get some players in earlier on in pre-season. We knew we had the returning Joe McDonnell and Steve Seddon. Alistair Smith, we managed to get retain, as it were, I suppose, after being released by Lincoln. Nathan Bishop and Delano McCoy-Splatt with the new additions. And then this week, as you mentioned, Stu, Hackford, Simwe and Orsi. Orsi is the interesting one because he's the one we paid a fee for. And this is a player that had a great season with Crawley a couple of years ago as they got promoted out of League Two. Doesn't really have a massive track record in League One. I always find it a strange one when a team, you spend money on a player, team not only in the same division as you, but a team that is expected to compete with you to stay in the division. We're very much in a relegation battle, I think, with Luton and a few others next season. So I always think we've either offered them something that they just could not turn down, or he didn't feature in their plans and they're not too bothered that he's gone.
Yeah, I think, they obviously loaned him out, didn't they? They loaned him out in January. He's gone on record and said we potentially were one of the clubs he could have come to. I've probably got a feeling that we probably couldn't afford him at that point. So he went to that other team in Buckinghamshire, which has always been an interesting one. But from how I think we've dealt with it okay. I think we've attacked the elephant in the room, and we're not dealing directly with them. He's not a spring chicken. He's 29, He's been around non-league. I did get a chance to catch up with him actually on Wednesday because there was an induction event at the club where the players come in for, and we do a bit of presentations for Wish and that. And I did ask him if he knew any of the team, and he said he'd played with Maidenhead with Josh Kelly. So he knows a few of the players, but that sort of shows you where he has. He's not, he wasn't in a great academy. He's fitted around the non-leagues. Did a really good interview, if you've not heard it, with Aaron Paul on BBC Radio London this morning, as we were recording Thursday, and was saying that he actually sounded like a Wimbledon player because he said, you know what, I understand this thing about, I've always, during his early career, he was always told you couldn't play at this level, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, and he had to overcome those. So he's definitely a grafter. And I think when we played him before, we've seen he's a grafter. He's like an Omar character for me in terms of he's come across as a really nice guy, but he's a bit of an arse on the pitch, which is good because he's going to be our arse now. I like it. But you're right, our level is where we are competing at the teams that are probably going to be like League One lower third as such, and Burton probably are going to be that because they only just survived it, last season. or we're going to pick up teams from the top end of League Two. So I think it's a good signing. I really do. Craig Coate is interesting because we do have 5 forwards now, 5 or 6 forwards.
Yeah.
And Craig, Aaron did ask him actually, we're not say top heavy, but Craig Coate did say we have to see how it goes in the next couple of weeks because we've probably got quite a lot of forwards. But it depends what squad we can run with because we didn't have enough forwards last year. So I'd rather go top heavy. But then you've got how do you keep them all happy? That's your challenge.
Of our forwards, Marcus Brown, arguably, if we include him in that list, is the only one you can say that really got some form of track record at League One. I think that's fair to say. Matty Stevens, lots of goals in League Two, not in League One. Bugle is League Two player, Orsi, League Two. Josh Kelly's never played at this level before.
Yeah.
Sasu, Foyo, who knows what's going to happen there. Just nobody with any sort of pedigree. So we knew last season goals were going to be a problem. We are fearing that might well be the case again this time around, especially when you are struggling. The biggest loss, surely though, still remains Josh Nerfil. And I know Slimway has come in and we were very impressed with him at Walsall last season. But does he replace Nerfil? Is that possible? My gut feeling is if he replaces Nerfil, he's not playing for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. Nerfil was a big loss. Our strength last year was our defence record, but also based on how we could turn defence into attack with our wing backs, James Tilley and Josh Nerfil. You could argue that James Tilley, out of the two, is the less of the loss. I think he's probably easier to an extent to replace. Josh Nerfil is pure power, technical ability, and was getting better. What I would say, watching Walsall last year, they were very similar to us. Their strengths were their wing backs. So to get one of them, I think, is a really good. If you looked at when we played against Walsall, we sort of nullified each other on the wings. Even at Wembley, we did that. We sort of nullified each other. So they obviously were a match. Interesting that their other wing back, their other wing back, Gordon, has gone to Port Vale. Obviously they're highly rated. So I think, I never say a replacement. I think we've got a strong wing back in there. Aaron Sasu, who can play the other side. I think he was always earmarked to go in as competition with James Tilley. So I feel like we've got decent competition over there with Steve Seddon, who's probably not an attacking fullback, but he's not like he can't go forward. He did score goals for us, and of course, how can we forget the goal he scored against Luton Town? So I think we're okay. We probably need a few people coming in, but yeah, our wing backs are if Johnny continues to want to play that way, then of course that's going to be our challenging area. Have we replaced them enough? Isn't
that what he's building though for? Because I think if we want to start the season, we've got to keep the team spirit and the work ethic and everything we had last season, and that way of playing that worked for us so well last season. I don't think moving away from that is going to help us. We've kept the spine of the side together, so it makes sense to keep with that way of playing, I would think. And then you also think about the players that we brought in at the start, and they're players that were all known to us previously, so they all know what it's about. And we're not, no one's really going to upset things, you wouldn't think, from that. So I don't see us moving away from this anytime soon. I guess it will depend on how we do. It's a tough start, though, isn't it? To factor into that, it could have had a slightly easier start on paper to the season. But another worry is, I mentioned Marcus Brown there. Is Marcus Brown not featured towards the end of pre-season? We've not spoken about pre-season because, pre-season, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. But I'm sure we will mention the lack of goals and the defeats we've in recent time. And Marcus Brown, any word on him? Is he likely to feature on Friday?
I think Johnny did mention. I think he had a knock. I think a knock. They decided not to chance. We lost Joe Lewis. I think the last pre-season game he played was the Enfield Town game. So he's an actually fit boy, lad, man. I think Johnny would obviously want them into training, make sure they're training and stuff like that. I think that Joe Lewis is one that we would put straight in. I don't think we'd ever have an issue with that. Yeah, Marcus Brown probably not. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Obviously, there's new players that have come in. Probably again, interview that Craig Coate did on BBC Radio London did say that the players we brought in have been a variance of time match time during pre-season. So the team's probably going to be what it was at Southend, which obviously we lost. There's no getting away. We've had a great pre-season, but there was never any sign that having a great pre-season and winning every game means you go in any better. It's just warm-up games. That's what they are. I'll tell you what the Delano, I can't call him Splat, and I can't call him McCoy because it reminds me of a crisp. So I'm going to call him Delano. He does look an interesting talent, lots of ability. The age range, we should be picking up players and can play in midfield, can play in a number 10. He looks really exciting. He's raw. There's no doubt about that. But he is definitely one that I think we have to be careful the minutes we play him. But he will produce moments of excellence, and I think he will also produce moments of poor games. That's the nature of it. But recruitment-wise, I think we've done really well with that. But yeah, do you know what? The players we brought in, Hackford and stuff like that, we've now got different attacking options that we didn't have last year, and that's really exciting for me. But of course, we're in a level higher. We'll soon see if that's going to be enough for us.
All will become clear, but my message to everyone really would be just to enjoy the season, whatever happens. I don't want all this doom and gloom and negativity. We know it's going to be hard. We said this ad infinitum so far on the podcast already. It's going to be difficult. Let's just enjoy it. Let's go to play these teams. We've got a lot of teams that we've not played before as AFC Wimbledon. So it's been a good, 20 years since we've played Huddersfield. I know we played Cardiff in the Cup, but we've not played them in a league game. We've got some very exciting times coming up. So I think we just enjoy it and see where we are come the end of it.
I agree. And you know what? Plough Lane is going to be a bigger, better and brighter place this season. Of course, with the new floodlights in, which I was, the manager, they had the lights on. I think they were just finishing off installing them. Wow. Plough Lane under the lights looked amazing anyway. Plough Lane under increased brightness looks amazing. I felt like a kid again. You know, like that first time you see that bright green pitch and the lights and all that sort of thing as you're a kid. I felt like that again. It looks like, from my understanding, is we've increased the brightness by about 3 times what they were, which is a significant increase. But I can't wait for the first midweek game, which I believe is the Cardiff home game. Is that right?
Yeah, Cardiff. Yeah.
Of course, people will probably moan it's too bright. Why do we increase it? You know, we're football fans. We have to moan. We will never go. Everything is great. Everything is rosy. It's going to be a bright place to. I think, I don't know if obviously you're a bit too young for that really, but for those that went at Plough Lane, I remember where I lived, I could walk to Plough Lane. It was a bit of a walk, but I was a bit younger then, and there wasn't many buses. But you could walk to Plough Lane, and probably before a mile out, you could see the floodlights, like the brightness of them. It felt like that again. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how far you can be able to see the brightness. Do you know what I mean? But it's.
Well, it's a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because it's all enclosed behind flats.
I know, but you might see the glare like a halo over Plough Lane.
Maybe we will, Stu. Maybe we will. League One, before we get into more sort of specific things about us, League One as a whole, what do we think in terms of, we've spoken about Burton, what other clubs do you think we're going to be fighting with to stay up? Who are the other teams that are going to be down there?
Yeah, great question. To be honest with you, I'll be truthful, right? When the fixtures come out, I stopped looking at the fixtures because the first month scared the living daylights out of me. On that side of it, if you look at betting wise, we are definitely the team to bet because that's side of it. I suppose you've got to look at Northampton, Exeter,
Cobblers,
Exeter. Obviously, a fan-owned club like ourselves, who've been in League One now for quite a few years. You probably could say they probably established themselves as a League One club as much as you can in this. So I think they are the ones. Northampton are always going to be that because I think budget-wise, they're always going to be around that. But the surprising thing is obviously Burton Albion, you would expect. But the interesting for me are teams like Stevenage and that, who I just think they're League One clubs. But when you look at last year, Bristol Rovers got relegated from League.
Yep.
Peterborough finished. They were never probably in serious doubt of being relegated, but they never got much out of the bottom half last year. And I class them clubs as good League One clubs. So that's probably where you are. Doncaster maybe.
Yeah.
But I think there's three parts to this league. I think there's three tiers in this league, and I think we no doubt need to finish top of the third tier. And then we're gonna have to accept that we're gonna. I'm not being funny. We're gonna have a few tonkings this year. We didn't lose by what, more than 2 clear goals last year. That's going to be an achievement.
Yeah.
That's going to be an achievement this year. So we have to be realistic. We're going to get our backsides tanned a few times, and we just need to be resilient and pick up the points, probably against those. I know it's a cliche, but those little cup finals and the 6-pointers, they're the key ones next season.
Clubs like Exeter, you mentioned there, Northampton, clubs that, well, Northampton have been, they've only had a couple of years now in the third tier, but Exeter a bit longer, and you say established, but I think it's clubs these size, just naturally, you can have good periods, but if you can't progress beyond a certain level, like the glass ceiling almost, then you are just going to sort of bounce around the divisions, and teams like Northampton and Exeter fall into that completely for me. Stevenage fall into that bracket for me. Doncaster fall into that bracket. Clubs that Mansfield, these sorts of teams, they will just be League One, Division 3, Division 4 sides. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think sometimes this is where, when we speak about overthinking, well, if you think about finances and the club, progressing and ownership models and sustainability and all those things, perhaps an element of overthinking things that, progress has to be continuous and we always have to be striving to go higher and higher and higher. Sometimes you accept where your level is and you just get on with it that way. And I think a lot of these clubs do that. And you have the rare occasion where you get clubs that do want to progress further beyond, and they have lots of finance that floods in to get them there. I mean, there's a club in our league this season, Reading, for example, many years ago, loads of money went in, got them into the Premier League, successful spelling. So there's a lot of, clubs that bounce around these lower leagues, and I don't see at the moment why that doesn't include us and why we should be scared or worried about that being us either.
No, I agree. And you could argue our last stint in League One, what was that? About 5 seasons, 6 seasons. You could argue that made us become a League One club, a team of a bit of that might have been our level, but it only takes 1 season to have a shit season, and you're back in League Two. So I think you're right. I think we are a team that flits around League One, League Two. Hopefully, more time in League One than in League Two. I think sometimes we get a bit confused by it. I'm still a little bit miffed when we've done the Dons Trust. We want to be in a championship within 5 years. I think that really blurred the lines. I really do. Hey, look, I want to be in the Premier League within 2 years, but that ain't going to happen, and it's not realistic. So I think you're right. I think messaging is really, really important. For me, I think it's really important I think you can move between League One and League Two, and let's be honest, right? There's a chance we could be in League Two the next season. But what you want to do as a club is progress off the pitch just as well as on the pitch. And there's no doubt about it. People turn up on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, judge progress by what you do on a 90 or 100-minute period on the pitch on a Saturday. But, we have probably, you could argue we have a top-end League One ground with potential to make it a bottom-end championship club. But we don't have the infrastructure behind that. So we need to progress off the pitch, make it a good match day experience. But yeah, I agree with you. If we got if we got relegated this year, so what? It just means we get another day at Wembley to get promoted back into this league. I can deal with that. 1 step forward, go back, win Wembley, come out. Do you know what I mean? Because let's be fair, right? We've had some great days of promotion. See, I was doing a tour this week, and I was chatting to a group of school kids, and I was saying up until the summer, 2016 was our great moment at Wembley, our last sort, and it wasn't that long ago.
No.
It wasn't that long ago. And I said, now we've got another one. We've actually had 3 playoff wins within sort of like the last decade or a bit. So, hey, look, do you know what? Some teams don't get to go to Wembley. Some teams don't get to get promoted. So we have to look on the positive sides. But yeah, financially, that's where we are. And to be an established League One club isn't as easy as it used to be, because there's a lot of teams that are coming up through the leagues who spend money. So, you know, you can have an influx of teams. Like, who would have thought Wrexham would have come in with the money they had, Stockport with the money they had. So it's all relative. But yeah, Joel, we just need to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also realistic that there's going to be some games where we're going to go, wow, we've got our backsides done on that one. But as a fan base, we have to be really, really careful not to get too down on their backs. You know, we're not going to win back-to-back games all the time. And so as a fan base, we've got to be good, but our communication has got to be even better from the club. We can't afford to hide players or hide managers or stuff like that. We've got to be in it together. We have a strap line saying, come together. That's going to be just as important this season as it was last year.
There is an argument, of course, Stu, that with all our recruitment and some of the contracts that we handed out towards the end of last season as well, that we have already planned long-term and have got a squad that should get relegated, can stay together and get promoted back straight away. But again, that could be another argument for another time. In terms of the third tier, which clubs do you expect to be in the top tier, the top echelon of the division?
Well, I think it's a no-brainer if you look at the teams in. I think you look at the teams that have been relegated just as much as the Premier League nowadays and the Championship between that yo-yo. I wouldn't be surprised to see that start happening. So you've got obviously Luton, Huddersfield, Cardiff.
Plymouth.
Yeah, Plymouth. See, again, it's a weird, because Plymouth are a big club in that area. You know, like them and Pompey are like competing. they're a big club down there. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. The financially, I'm not too sure whether they can. Stockport would probably be my ones to break in. I like Stockport. They've recruited well. I think Nathan Lowe's gone there as well on loan. That's been a recent deal. So Leyton Orient, I fancy, because they've had a bit of spending in there. Lincoln done well last year. And that's not even mentioning teams like Barnsley or Wiggins or Rotherham's.
Yeah, Barnsley, Bolton, yeah.
So do you get what I mean? That's what, you know, you're not even mentioning those teams who, when we were in League One last time, you would have said, well, the Boltons, the Wiggins, and the Rotherhams, and that would have been your top teams. So that just shows you how League One has developed since we last were in it. But you know what? As I mentioned these teams, Nick, it does worry me a little bit. That's why I've not looked at our fixtures too much, because you just look at some of these teams and you're thinking, well, they were the top teams in League One when we were last in, and they're probably teams now that we probably need to get points against to get us a good point tally for the end of the season.
Yeah, the start of the season, just looking at it here, Stu, Luton away, Lincoln at home. Then we go away to Gillingham in the League Cup. And I
can't get away from Gillingham, can we?
That's a guaranteed. That's a nailed-on defeat, Stu. That's a nailed-on. Reading away, Cardiff at home, Barnsley at home.
Wow.
Could have done us a favour there with the fixtures. But hey, do you know what? Let's just get used to playing at that level as quickly as we can, because we need to, and we need to figure out what it's going to be like. At Luton away, we'll come on to it later, but in my head, not the worst fixture we could have for the first one. But in terms of the season as a whole, if you asked to give you a prediction for a position that we're going to finish, where would you go?
I would probably say one position away from the relegation. And the problem is, just as much as we favour the fact that 4 teams can get promoted from League Two, it also does you in when you go to League One, because there's more place to get relegated in. So I would say if we finish 18th, 19th, that would be great. That's probably where I'd hope. But realistically, that's going to be a challenge and a half for us to get there. But as we said, we're Wimbledon. We are used to adversity. Let's enjoy it. Just don't look at the fixtures. What I would say, don't look too far ahead. That's what I've decided not to do. I only looked at September. Don't look too far ahead. Of course, if you're travelling to away games, then you need to plan. But
as far as you can, because, you know, kickoff times, who knows what happens.
Well, yes. But you know what? I know I talk about the floodlights, but when you just mention about those teams, we're going to have some really well-established championship teams and stuff like that. But Proud Lane is going to look even better under the lights this year with better teams, more away fans. It's a lot to get excited about. I really think, you know, the more you talk about it, there's not doom and gloom. We've just got to look forward to it. But of course, if we get anything from Luton or don't get anything from Luton, we're going to be looking to the next game. But it's, yeah, I can't wait.
Other thing I want to talk about before we get onto our game and get onto Luton in more detail, Stu, is the new kits. And I am a controversial voice when it comes to our new kits. But these things are all subjective, so it doesn't matter. Like if you like the new kits, if you want to buy them all, whatever it is, that's absolutely fine. Remember, this is all completely subjective, and kits will always sell. Kits will always sell. All right, there's no doubt about that one. They're not the best for me personally. The fluorescent zebra, the green and black, for me is the best of the new kits by an absolute mile. Okay, and that does not mean I'm putting it up there with our best kits that we've ever had at all, but I just don't like the other ones. I really don't. So I know
you don't like our normal blue kit?
It reminds me of a Diodora League kit from the mid-90s. It would be like that's what I see when I look at the piping on it and the collar on it and the quote unquote subtle pattern on the background. Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. It looks like like I say, like a cheap. I can see like ISIS or something written on it, not like that, you know, not like.
Oh, that'd be controversial, wouldn't it?
Oh well, can you imagine?
A
but you
battle
know,
on the
like
pitch.
the old thing you used to see on the old non-league kits in the old conference days. That just doesn't do it for me at all.
Do you know what's interesting? Like, obviously, there's a lot of vloggers nowadays who review kits and stuff like that. And I saw one. Again, I don't know if this one is really popular or he's a low level. Do you know what I mean? Like all different levels of popularity, don't they? But he did a review on the home kits, and ours come out top. He said he absolutely loved it. I think we do produce really good kits.
Do you know what I think though about our kits, and what I've noticed, especially over the last few seasons, is that they are very much geared towards the sort of football kit person. You know, the people that will buy kits from any other club. It's almost like a hipster style fashion trend thing about a certain niche market of fans I think they all appeal in different ways to those sorts of people, which isn't me, to be honest with you. I like
no,
standard.
And to be fair, look at the audience that we're going for. So we have when I've done tours recently and chatting to people at the club shop and stuff, it's been really and even amongst my mates and that, it's been really interesting of the difference in like people like one kit don't like the other kit. Some people like the goalkeeper kits. Some people don't like the goalkeeper kits. And I think what we've managed to do as a club is produce 6 kits because that's effectively what we've released. 3 home, 3 goalkeeper kits that you could argue the goalkeeper kits in their own right could be an actual start, you know, an actual player kit. I think we produce kits that I think if you're a fan, you will like one of those kits. You probably like 2. If you're like me, I like all the kits because I'm just a bit of a geek like that. But there's a choice for everybody, so I think they will sell really well. Which is let's be fair,
which is the point, yeah.
That's the point, you know. So we will do really well from our sales. I like the Lotto stuff. The training kit is gradually coming into the club shop. I managed to get the shorts like I think they call them traveling shorts and a sweatshirt. Pricey, but they always have been pricey. But the Lotto material is really good quality. That's one thing that I would say. So there's some really good stuff. My favourite is the green kit. I'm with you on that. When I first saw it, it reminded me of a QPR third choice kit that I've seen through the years. That side of it, but it also does go back. You know, we wore these sort of colours back in the late 1800s. Of course, me being part of the Stadium Tour Museum would be aware of that. But there's always a bit of a link in with them. I'll tell you a funny story. My wife always has an opinion about everything, which is great. That's why I love her very much. She loved the kit until she saw an Italian flag on it, and then she hated it.
All right, okay.
And I had to explain to her that Lotto are an Italian company, and she said, "Yes, but we play in England. Why have we got their branding on it?" And I laughed. But that's when she hated it. Like she went very quickly, like I hate it, and I don't think it's anything. Do you know, it's like the little details that everyone sort of notices. And I think
Yeah.
you look at the kits, they've all got different details. Like, so the blue kit's got a really interesting different collar, which I actually quite like. The green kit's got a different collar. The yellow kit's got a trim, the lining down the side, which a lot of people like.
Do you know what that lining down the side reminds me of? A Kappa tracksuit again from the mid
Yeah,
90s.
yeah,
It just, and not in a good way.
yeah. You're right. You're right. So, but what I love about our kits, right, is that a lot of kits you get three kits that come out that basically are the same design but different colours.
Yeah.
We never do that. Every kit has its own sort of like
Yeah.
uniqueness about them, which I love about it. And from my understanding, they are literally being like they are being sold very, very quickly in the shop and online. So yeah, and one thing I do like as well, we have different sponsors on all three.
Mm.
I quite like that. One of the biggest criticisms I've always had, it's not really a criticism because it's actually a positive. We've always had the same football manager have been with us since day dot, right? So
Yeah.
every kit has football manager on it, naturally. But obviously, football manager have been really kind the fact that they let War Child,
Yeah.
one of the sponsors, our third kit has got a new sponsor for the first time. And the football manager logo's changed as well. So the kits look different because sponsorship logos do change kits. There's no doubt about that. So, although I still wish we were like one of those sort of Argentinian clubs or a French club that basically any space you have on your kit can have a sponsor logo on. I
Those
would
days are
love,
coming, Stu,
I
because
would love that sort of kit. Like every little bit, you got a sponsor on. Man, and you know what I mean? Like they're basically advertising, isn't it? You're
it's
playing
just you are a billboard, basically. Yeah.
a running billboard.
Yes, or in Leon Trotter's case, just a billboard. On that note, Stu, should we play a new game?
Oh, let's go. Yeah.
Let's see how long we can get away with this game this year, Stu,
Okay.
because circumstances might dictate we have to change it fairly quickly. But for now, for the new season, we have a new game-ish, and we're going to call this game, Stu, Richard Osman Foyo's House of Games.
Oh, crikey, dear. I wouldn't bet on it staying this season.
Probably not. Thank you very much to Mark Hendricks for the inspiration for this one. But Stu, Richard Osman and Foyo's House of Games is based on Richard Osman's House of Games, which basically means there'd be a different type of game every week. All right, going to be a variety of different games that we could play. And, you know, as Richard Osman says on his show, which game comes up next? Nobody knows, except for the fact that if it's Monday, you know the first game is going to be rhyme time. And if it's Monday, you know the first pairs game is going to be distinctly average. So with that in mind, Stu, the first game we're going to play on Richard Osman Foyo's House of Games is rhyme time. I'm going to give you two questions. The answers rhyme with each other, and you just have to give me both answers in one go. So we can do a test of this one. All right?
Yeah, so I've never watched this, whatever thing it's called.
Okay,
So
you need to.
forgive my ignorance.
No, that's fine. I'll give you an example then. So I'm going to give you two questions, and then you just give me the answers to both questions, one after the other afterwards, okay? So the example one would be manager who won us promotion back into the Football League in 2011.
Mr. Brown.
Opposite of up.
Brown down.
Yeah, or Terry Brown down. Yeah, that would be your answer.
Terry Brown down.
Okay. Terry Brown down. Okay, it doesn't have, yeah. So let's try this one.
Oh dear.
So I've got half a dozen of these.
Oh dear.
1991 hit song by Chesney Hawkes, and then AFC Wimbledon Academy product currently playing for Coventry City.
I am the one and only Radoni.
I'll take it. The one and only Jack Radoni.
Only Jack Radoni. Okay.
Yeah, we're going for full names of players.
Right. Okay. So I don't know them. Well, to be fair, don't do that for Dan Orsi because we could be here all day.
Well, thankfully, no, because I couldn't find anything to rhyme with him. But okay. Number two, synonym for weak and delicate. So another word for weak and delicate, traditionally considered when someone's a bit older, maybe. And then centre half who had a testimonial game at Plough Lane in June.
Well, I know Will Nightingale. What the hell is weak or...
Called an old person who looks a bit weak.
Decrepit.
No, that's a bit harsh.
Uh...
Rhymes with Nightingale.
Oh, is it? It's got a rhyme with something. Nightingale.
Yes, they always rhyme.
Oh, yeah. Frail. Will Nightingale.
Very good. See?
Ah, yeah,
Very
Decrepit didn't go, did it? Yeah, Decrepit. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work. Okay, next one. A female wrestler known as the Goddess of WWE.
I don't
You,
watch that anymore. Like,
Stu, come on, you
I
know
only,
that.
I only noticed it was still going on when I saw, unfortunately, Hulk Hogan passed away. But bless him.
Yeah, you will know that you know this wrestler, female wrestler known as the Goddess of WWE. This could be the only answer you could give to this question. And then former Birmingham, Plymouth, and Luton striker who scored 2 goals in 23 appearances for us in 2018, 2019.
Luton was sorry. What was the second bit?
So Birmingham, Plymouth, and Luton striker played for us in 2018-19. Stu, name a female wrestler.
I know. I'm trying to think of the one that you like, but I've forgotten about her already.
See, we've only been saying it's the sign off to the show for about 8 years now.
Yeah, but the season's finished now, so I sort of do. It's like you do like a factory reset. That's sort of like my brain
I can see.
sometimes.
I can see.
So obviously Alexa Bliss would be the female. So Bliss. What forward did we?
He was rubbish. He was rubbish.
Well, that narrows it down a bit, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Famously missed from a yard against Plymouth.
Oh, what is his name? I can picture
Alexa Bliss.
That one at Plymouth. I can't remember, to be truthful.
Jake Jervis.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. There was many names we used for him, and they weren't really any of those.
No, the original JJ. Okay, next one. Whitney Houston song used on the soundtrack for the Bodyguard film, and then Nigerian international striker signed from Norwich City in 1994.
Well, that's a Koku. What one is a Bodyguard? Shit.
Whitney Houston.
Yeah. No, I can't think of the first one. Obviously, F and a Cuckoo.
Yeah. I Will Always Love You, Efana Koku.
Yeah, F and great striker. Yeah.
Okay, 2 more. Surname of EastEnders and Football Factory actor Danny.
Yeah.
And then Ghanaian international striker. First played for Wimbledon on loan from Crystal Palace in 2014.
Dyer, so Danny Dyer. Danny Dyer, Kezi, 3-year contract of fire.
There we go. Danny Dyer, Kwesi Appiah. And then finally, former Millwall and Bolton midfielder signed for Wimbledon in 2017.
Yeah.
And then someone who occupies a property without permission and doesn't move.
Squatter. Oh, Liam, I'm trying to be a referee trotter with another squatter.
There we go. Liam Squatter. The first round of Richard Osman Foyo's House of Games. Let's see what game comes up next week. It won't be rhyme time, don't worry. It'll be something different next week. But yeah, there you go. Alexa Bliss, how can we forget? Right, Luton Town, Friday night, Kenilworth Road. Let's just talk about it briefly, Stu. Consecutive relegations for Luton from the Premier League, 2 relegations in 2 seasons. Their form was okay at the end of last season, though, to be fair. They only lost 2 of their last 10, but they were 12 winless from December to March, and that's probably what did them for them. As you would expect, so Matt Bloomfield came in halfway through last season. He is still in charge. He knows this division. It is a good manager to have at this level. They had a high turnover of players in the summer, Stu. Most recently, Alfie Doughty has gone to Millwall, which they were very disappointed about, as you would expect. But Kyle Nailsmith, George Saville, Josh Keeley, Narky Wells have come in. Strong recruitment for the level, I feel. They were unbeaten in pre-season. Their concern at the moment is probably the same as us. Goals. And I was on the Luton Town Fan podcast this week, and that was their concern, was goals. Corley Woodrow is not particularly well rated. Jacob Brown is not seen as a goal scorer. Elijah Adebayo is unavailable for the time being. So this, Stu, I think, is a good time to play Luton. I think we will stick everyone behind the ball. We will frustrate them very much. I see this exactly like I saw that Grimsby game at the end of last season, where I could almost see it happening before it happened. And as it transpired exactly as I thought it was going to happen. And I think this is going to be the same. I think we're going to frustrate them. The crowd's going to get frustrated. They're going to get on their back. They're going to become more and more desperate. They're going to commit men more forward. And then with about 10 minutes to go, we're going to catch them on the break. Orsey's going to score his debut, 1-0 win. Thank you very much. We're not going to win another game for about 6 months after that, but we shall win on Friday night.
It's interesting. Joe, manager-wise, I'm probably in disagreement with you. I don't think Matt Bloomfield is a great manager at that. I don't think he's got that much experience. As a player, lots of experience. But obviously replaced Gareth Ainsworth. Wickham are not the same Wickham that we remember. Wickham have a bit of money. I'm not convinced he's a manager you want for a team that needs to bounce back from relegation. And let's be fair, Luton fans would have set their expectation level totally different now. Whereas, 5-6 years ago, they'd have been going, well, if we can have a good season in League One, then that's good. But actually now they're probably going, well, we should be going back. And to be fair, they should be. They've still got the third year of the relegation parachute payments, which is just makes you crack up, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I'm wondering whether Matt Bloomfield is the right manager. I think he will be under pressure very quickly if Luton don't do what they should do. But yeah, you're right. Any relegation team is always the best team to play them. Always best time. Always. Yeah. Interesting to see what Kenilworth Road is going to be like in terms of fan expectation, because I think the levels have changed. And we have to go there and frustrate them. Difficult one, because if you look at pre-season, we keep conceding the first goal very quickly. As much as pre-season doesn't really count, you can't argue the fact that we were solid as anything last season, and pre-season we've looked nothing like that. But again, very foolish to bring pre-season in. It's like going as a boxer for a bit of sparring and then take the head guard off and someone whacks you on the nose. That's going to hurt. Yeah. I probably am hoping for a draw. I'm probably expecting a narrow defeat, but do you know what I'm looking for more is I'm looking how we play, for our performance.
Yeah.
How we look solid wise, how we play. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, but it's really exciting to be like we're opening up the EFL season. Like that is pretty cool. So we need to enjoy it. But yeah, and also, do you know what? I'm really gutted. I'm not going to Luton because I didn't really want to fancy trying to fit into a seat that's been for someone who was born in the 1900s at 4'10".
Yeah.
But they've now got
it's Premier League, you see.
They've got a safe standing now, haven't they?
Yeah.
How cool is that? And also the greenhouses have gone on the side. Like they
have, yeah.
Like that is like so. To be truthful, I never really felt like I wanted to go. It was on TV. I'm a bit old now, and I don't really do many away games. And I felt really guilty going for a ticket when I know actually that I've not done many away games. I had that sort of like guilt that if I got a ticket from someone who went all last season, that's another debate how we reward.
Well, it's funny, yeah, because actually you have reminded me, and I was meant to actually mention this one because a lot of talk about loyalty schemes and things like that, potentially something we should be looking into. As it has transpired, the club get a lot of stick. On this one, I think they've actually called it right in the end, because by the end of it, tickets went on general sale anyway. So I think they've probably judged it correctly on this occasion, but I think there is definitely a conversation to be had about loyalty schemes in future, especially when we come to when we get to, like I said not so long ago, when we get to FA Cup, potentially FA Cup away games against not big clubs, but just clubs that people will be excited to play but haven't got the biggest away allocations.
Yeah.
Then that's when we start to have to factor in these sorts of things. Bournemouth, for example, Brentford, for example.
Yeah, do you know what, as a club, we've got to be realistic. We I think we're close to like 7,000 members now, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
However, when you then put tickets on sale to season ticket holders who, by probably chance, would be members, not many are members, not season ticket holders, then it's a big pool of people. And hey, look, I used to go to away games, home and away. Sorry, home and away. I used to go.
You went through that wage tunnel.
Yeah, I used to go to home and away for season off season. I remember I did one season where I missed one game, and it was Man United away because they were doing the end and we couldn't get tickets. And I was absolutely distraught because I felt like I'd earned a bit of loyalty. So as a fan that's done that, I understand the fans that have done the rubbish trips to Harrogate or maybe or something like that. So I think we do need to find
Yeah.
a way. But I think England done it where you get a cap for a home game and you get so many caps for an away game or something like that. I would love
Yeah.
some. So I think if you do home games, I think you should then be respected as a. I think it's all about. I don't like this thing about loyalty because I think a fan that turns up for 2 or 3 games is just important of one that goes to every single game. But we've got to find a way of rewarding the fans that go loyal home and away because that is it's not an easy thing to do. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. But the club are on a hiding to nothing because they don't have that set up. But I think it's something that we probably need to look at, and I hope they are.
Yeah. As you say, Kenilworth Road, Friday night. Prediction?
0-0.
0-0. Yeah, Luton fans I spoke to think 0-0 is the most likely result as well. So would not surprise me. I'm still going to go with a 1-0 victory. You can, of course, Stu, register your prediction on the Asker Prediction League, the original and best prediction league available. Niels-wfc-site.co.uk/APL2. Yeah, we'll put the link on Twitter and everything. On Nazi Twitter.
That's been going for years. I've started calling Twitter X now because I've sort of got to the stage.
More people start calling it X now, but I still refuse. I like to refer to it as Nazi Twitter because, somehow it's bringing about the end of the world.
Well, the end of the world is not, isn't it?
Well, it is. We know this anyway. I mean, it's not going to be a social media.
No, like right. It probably happened when we go top of the league or something, and I'll be do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think we kind of need it, Stu. To be honest with you, we need a reset. We're due. We've had quite a long time, especially in this country. We've had quite a long time of peace and prosperity. We're due something. So I mean, we have had hard times. We watched Liam Trotter play for us for a couple of seasons, but I think we are due some real hardship. Anyway, on that exciting and happy and upbeat note, updates will be on Nazi Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it, at 9YRS Podcast on Friday evening. But the game is live on Sky anyway, as is the following Saturday at home to Lincoln at 3:00 because it's the world we live in these days. Yeah.
So our first 3 games are all live because obviously the Gingham Cup game.
Gillingham will be on TV as well. Yeah.
Basically, we are just a Man City of League One. We are always.
I really hope not.
Well, to be fair, we've only got one betting problem, not whatever sort of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, just stay away from betting. Betting is not good. Remember, not good, especially if you put all those bets in and you don't win.
Which is the gamble you take. Anyway, Stu, that is us for this week, first episode of the season. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much. My son's just attacked me. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you deserve it. Thank you, everybody, for listening and downloading the show this week. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, 2 + 2 = 4. And we shall speak to you again next week.